One of the biggest musical influences in my life, I would say, is the definitely the first Acid Bath album. It was called "When the Kite String Pops." Is a very it's a very psychedelic, kind of trippy, heavy metal album, like a bunch of different flavors of metal, and like a little bit of punk rock and hardcore in there, and some a little bit of folk music as well, kind of like just mixed in together. And this album, when the kite string pops, is like change the way that I write lyrics. You know, that album and some of the what do you call it? And some of the Electric Wizard songs from their album. Their what's it called? Dope Throne. See, this is how long it's been. Definitely definitely the Electric Wizard song. What do you Funeralopolis. So they did like it's very like dark and like I guess apocalyptic, misanthropic, it's the kind of, and like with Acid Bath, like a very trippy, like satanic serial killer kind of, you know theme going on. And you can see it, like even like my song from 3 months ago, Flatline, scalpel shining in the light. I didn't even, I wasn't even trying to, make a acid bath reference, but it happened because of that song. Because scalpel shines, God's sunshine, the street light whisper pain. But yeah, I sing better than that usually. But I'm on the spot here, right? I don't. Um, my thing is, yeah, like when you listen to Kite String Pops on your way to school, during school, going back to school, at night when you're going to sleep, every day for an entire year, it's gonna make an impression on you. That was my story. That was my experience with Acid Bath. I found them when I was 16. Anders Kolsefny, the ex singer of Slipknot, said that that Acid Bath was one of Slipknot's biggest influences. Acid Bath and Mr. Bungle are their two like biggest influences. And so I got I I started getting into like I started like getting into both of those bands when I was like 16. I would like obsessively listen to their music. Even like with Mr. Bungle, of course, it's hard to when you're a teenager and you just want heavy metal. It's hard to like sold to something as like it's just weird music. It's like I want to listen to heavy metal and only heavy metal. That's how I was. That's how I was when I was 16. Really into heavy metal. Always about heavy metal. Writing down heavy metal bands and songs in like tons and tons of journals. Like I have hundreds of bands just written down in just like scratch notebooks. Like back at my back at my house in Pennsylvania. Um, but you know, like like when I was 16, like I heard about like, oh, Dax Riggs, he was in Acid Bath. Okay, yeah, like this is gonna be like Acid Bath, right? Well, not exactly, right? When you're a metalhead, when you bleed the colors of black and blue, you don't want to listen to no fucking like, you know, some like regular old rock music or folk music. You want to listen to heavy metal. So you come from that world straight into that, it's gonna be disappointing for you. It took me years to get into Dax Riggs music, and I love it now. And it's it's kind of bittersweet that I got into it late because he ain't made new songs and shit. I think like 10 years, over 10 years. I don't think Dax Riggs has made any new songs. And so like the acid bath era is such a small segment of Dax Riggs's life, but it's like it's something that's so important to me. Like he like when I saw Acid Bath like play live, this is how I was. This is how I am. Like whenever there's like I see a live performance, whenever I see like a band playing live, it's like that's gonna be me. That's gonna be me someday. I'm gonna do that. It doesn't matter like if I'm like the drummer, the bassist, the guitarist, the singer, play the keyboard, whatever. Like that's my dream to be on stage. I don't even care if I like the music that I'm playing. It's more important that like it's more important to just like to just go for it. Like the act of like performing is something that I've always like fantasized about. Like ever since I was 13, like when I saw when I saw Slipknot, like that's when I knew I wanted to be a rock star. When I saw Slipknot, it's like I want to wear a mask. I want to play guitar and wear a mask. That's my dream. And I held on to that for so long. Well, I want to get more into like Dax Riggs's music, like when he talks about he talks about blood and ghosts and fucking death and shit like that. That's something that's like that's gonna like when you listen to that every single day, that's gonna like embed itself into your mind. The fucking screech that he does. I I I learned that more from just like watch like listening to Deftones, like watching their live shows religiously. I watched I didn't get super into Deftones until I was I think like 20 or 21. That's when I think when I was 21 they became my favorite band. Up until that point it was Slipknot. Not Slipknot. It was Korn with a K. Um but it's like a the live performance aspect. Like when Acid Bath performed live, like they had a live performance that was like way different than anything I've ever seen. Like Dax was like saying some weird crazy shit into the microphone, some like fucking like poems about death or whatever. And the whole time when they're playing, he has his hand down his pants, yanking at his fucking pocket like a fucking madman. Like these people are loony, and I've always been like Dax Riggs' voice is something I've been obsessed with. His voice is something I've like a voice I've been like jealous of my entire life. Like of any voice I've ever heard, like it gets to me like I get jealous that it baffles my mind that somebody can sound this good, that somebody can have a voice this insane. He sounds like what's the guy's name from oh fuck I forget the uh, Morrison. Fuck the guy from the Doors. Yeah, Jim Morrison. Fuck. But he sounds like if Jim Morrison was good. And what I mean by that, he has that tonality, but he's way more flexible in between notes. He has a larger vocal range. He has more interesting vocal melodies. His tone of like Dax Riggs' tone of voice is is a couple deviations better than Jim Morrison's voice. Dax Riggs is just everything you could ever want out of a vocalist. But the thing is, he doesn't make music that much, and he's more of a singer songwriter type. Whereas like I feel like in a band ensemble, Phil Anselmo, yeah, watch it, racist. I feel like he's I feel like I feel like he's he's only really like used his full potential like in his earlier years. He's still like he's still a good musician. I still like his music. And in fact, I think I've listened to think I listened to his solo stuff or his like his other bands or whatever. I think I listen to that more often now than his Acid Bath albums, because really Acid Bath made two albums, and they're both good albums. But and I listened to their demos. Um, but yeah, I remember like if they're like I remember as a teenager, if there's one voice, I could like have if I cut my arm, like I would cut my right arm off to have this dude's voice, it would be Dax Riggs' voice, because it's the most yeah, it's one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard. But the thing is, he doesn't make music for everyone. His music's hard to get into, right? But like I think even if he made bad music, like his voice is just so like is like as close to a perfect voice as you can get. His voice and Chino Moreno's voice are my favorite voices of all time. But you know, as like a get like Dax Riggs, he's a very shy dude. Because it's insane when you think about it, it's insane that Acid Bath even fucking happened. Because like, if you told me this little quiet dude, I don't think he's little. I think he's like average height, right? But this subdued quiet guy who's like really shy, talks like really soft in interviews, would make like some insane fucking like thrash metal mix hodgepodge music, like nobody would believe you. But somehow, like we live in an alternate time, like timeline where this like regular singer songwriter, loves the Doors, loves the Beatles, loves comic books and shit, like would be in like the most insane band that never took off. Like it's insane. It's insane to think about. But fucking like it's yeah, it's just a little bit is uh I don't know if it's a shame that he didn't make more metal music, because in all reality he really shouldn't have. Not that like his music, the Acid Bath albums are amazing, but like there's no reason in reality that those two albums should even exist, that that band should have even existed, but it did. And so it just leaves like a, I guess, a black hole in everybody's heart. And then I guess Dax Riggs is, I guess he probably, yeah, I mean, you have to imagine how much he gets from people like all the time when he performs, like, yeah, this is great, but what about Acid Bath? Can you do an Acid Bath cover? Sing Dead Girl and shit like that. Like his entire, like the majority of his music career, people have been harping on like a very small section of his life. Like imagine what kind of pressure that does to a motherfucker who just wants to make music, right? So I feel like that's a big reason why he hasn't made so much music, because he can never like escape that. Such a high bar was set when he was like just got out of being a teenager, and then now it's like what all the people are obsessed with. And then Agents of Oblivion as well, like Agents of Oblivion, Acid Bath. That's probably what he's got to get most of the time. But so if I found him without like knowing Acid Bath, it might even have been a lot easier to like get into his music. But you come from like that high of like a bar of insanity, and then come back down to, okay, singer songwriter. It's hard to get into. But yeah, that's why I'm glad I started off making music that's like I guess bad, right? Even though like Dax Riggs' music isn't bad, I'm glad I started off making bad music, because it's the stakes aren't that high, right? When you make like when you make two albums that are like damn near either nines out of tens or 10 out of tens. I'd say both albums are like 9 out of 10, right? But when you make an album, I would have said both of them. I would have said Pagan Terrorist Tactics is a 9, and Kite String is a 10. If I was like 17, 18 or whatever. But when you come from that to like back down to reality, like it just doesn't feel right. It's like it's hard for most people to go back, and that's why, I'm probably like I'd probably recommend Dax Riggs's regular music to people before I recommend Acid Bath from now on. Right, because like that kind of, yeah, that kind of a bar is like crippling. Is just insane. That's how I felt about the first Slipknot album for a while, but like now, All Hope Is Gone is my favorite album. And honestly, All Hope Is Gone is probably, like, in terms of like just the individual songs, maybe not the album, but like all the songs that have music videos for them, like have been like my favorite Slipknot songs. Right. I don't like when I listen to if I'm gonna be like, all right, I want to listen to a Slipknot song, I'll go to All Hope Is Gone. Right. But it didn't feel like that when I was a little. The first Slipknot song I heard was I think was Psychosocial, and then the second one was Sulfur, and then that was it. Then it became my favorite band. um, but yeah, I I'd like for Dax Riggs to honestly just make any kind of music at this point, because he hasn't made music in years. If he makes any kind of music, I think it'd be pretty dope. But it's been 10 years now, so probably not. And y'all can definitely y'all could have given up on that Asabath reunion shit like 15 years ago. Now you got to worry about like Dax Riggs even making music again, and I wish he would, but my hopes aren't that high. My thing is like I'd rather learn from what he does musically and then build something out of that. I'd rather dedicate my life to like filling that void instead of hoping and praying, this guy I learned so much from like comes back. Like I'm not gonna wait anymore. I'd rather I've always dreamed of being like a musician and a performer, a creator. It's not enough for me to just like sit and watch. Like I want to be involved. But yeah, yeah, that's my thing. Right. It'd be cool if he made more music, but I'm not like holding my breath. But anyway, yeah, that's all I gotta say.